Greetings to my fellow peace blunderers, and today I'm talking about an aspect of chess which most people really like getting involved in, but far from everyone knows how to do it correctly, and that is how to attack. I'll be covering 5 tips that will definitely help you improve your attacking play, and this is by no means a comprehensive list. This is not all there is to attacking. These tips were inspired by some of the games that I've played recently, and of course there are more. So if you like this kind of video and if you'd like to get more from me, I will happily do more. Also, I strongly recommend you guys to check out the video that I did some time ago about how to find and execute chess plans once you're done with this one. Alright, let's start with tip number 1, and that is do not forget about the intermezzo moves. Now, if you don't know, an intermezzo move or a Zwischenzug, or an in-between move is a sneaky little move. It's a move that is played literally in between moves in a forcing, usually tactical sequence. Now, this move is very important because it poses an immediate threat that your opponent needs to address. Now, if you don't understand yet from my definition what this is, let me show you. In this position, white plays knight f7. The only decent move, really, the knight is amazing on f7, and most importantly, it attacks the queen. However, the black pieces don't need to address the queen problem immediately. What they can do is throw a Zwischenzug or an intermezzo, an in-between move. Before they move the queen, they can deliver the check on the white king with c takes b2. You see how the king is checked, thus it needs to be addressed. And yeah, now that the king is checked, the white pieces can't really capture that queen, have to move the king first. King b1 will do. However, this is not the intermezzo that I meant to talk about. This was just an example, a prelude. The move that I do want to talk about comes right now. Don't forget that the black queen is still attacked. Yes, we delayed the threat by 1 move, but it needs to be addressed this time for sure. However, instead of moving their queen, black did probably the more sensible thing, and that is to just capture that knight on f7. The knight is extremely strong on f7. Maybe it's better to just get rid of it, albeit at the cost of a rook. And here comes the very important part. This is where the intermezzo kicks in. It's very natural, of course, there is no doubt that white is the attacking party in this game. Look at the development of the pieces. It is very natural at this point for white to just recapture back immediately with pawn takes on f7 with check and just be happy with the fact that they're an exchange up. And this is just a kind of very automatic thing to do. If you know what I'm saying, when we're calculating what happens next, we're like, okay, so rook takes back, etc., etc., right? However, we must not do that. What we must do is that whenever we attack, whenever we have this overwhelming attacking press, and you can agree that white is definitely overwhelming black here, we must never think in these seemingly obvious sequences in like takes, right? No. Rook takes knight, we ask ourselves, instead of immediate retaking, is there a better move, an in-between move, an intermezzo move that can destroy black's hopes for sure? Also guys, have you ever had these puzzles where after you see the solution, you understand that your idea was actually correct, you messed up the solution because you got either the wrong move order or you missed some kind of vital intermezzo move. Maybe you missed an important check before you do something else or an important capture. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We mustn't think of tactical sequences on autopilot. After each move, after each individual move, we should ask ourselves, is there a better option other than retaking automatically? And in this case, boy, there is one. Now, there is nothing too much wrong with recapturing. It still gives white the advantage, but by far the best move in this position is the devastating g5. The rook we may as well take at some point later, if we so wish. Black has got much bigger problems than saving the rook now, because, okay, let's imagine black does try to save the rook with something like rook f8, I don't know, but black is not surviving anything at all after something like pawn takes there, the bishop is attacked, the lines are opening up. This is just looking catastrophic. In fact, if we go back a little, The best move that the engine suggests in this position, that is still plus 10 for white, so it doesn't really matter, is d4, attacking that rook on h1 with the bishop. And now, yeah, sure, we can take the rook with pawn takes f7 check, and now king may take on f7, king may go to f8. Either way, let's say king takes on f7, and because we inserted g5 earlier on, we can take on h6 and completely open the position up. Differences between this position and the position that could happen after we took the rook. Straight away takes on f7 with check, and now let's say king takes on f7 is this. If we play g5 now, reverse move order, now black can take, and yeah, the position is still bad for black, but compare this level of exposed to this level of exposed. In this position, we still have our pawn on the h file, which is incredibly strong. It's attacking the bishop. The g file is opened up. This position is still open, still bad, but not as bad. And this is what I'm talking about. Watch your move orders. Always look out for intermezzos. Always think about, maybe I don't really have to recapture immediately. Maybe there is an in-between move that I can make that is going to be even more dangerous. And this is definitely something you should try and employ. Tip number 2 is make sure that your pieces actually have squares to go to. And what I mean by that is the following. In this position, white plays rook g4. The idea becomes quite obvious because white wants to attack, probably wants to move the rook over to the king side with the help of this little rook lift and the maneuver to the flank, which is kind of nice and all in theory, but in practice, yeah, you gotta watch out. Sometimes when you attack, especially when you attack on the same side, your pieces end up being quite compact, quite not far away from each other, which means that sometimes they can get trapped, which happens in this sample position. We have f5 now by black, a very good move asking questions of that rook, and white is like, boy, I wanted to do that and I'm going to do that with rook c4. Seems like a nice idea, like I said, in theory. But if we take a look, the rook doesn't have that many squares. This is occupied, so all of this is occupied along the fourth rank, unavailable, and after b5 by black, this rook is not feeling very well. Not feeling very well at all, because literally it has 0 squares on the fourth rank. This square is also unavailable. The only available retreating square is c3, but it's not very good, because we can now play something like bishop to c4, completely trapping that rook. So yeah, may as well at this point just take the knight. Not now though. After b5, just take the knight. It's probably the best move. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. When moving your pieces with a view to attack, just make sure that they have some breathing space in compact positions. It is especially important to look at possible pawn moves because, let's face it, whenever we are trying to attack, we don't usually look at opponent pawn moves because they're considered quite weakening and quite exposing. And yes, in some other positions, b5 looks ridiculous, pushing the pawn in front of your king, but in this position it is very good because it's basically forcing the rook to sacrifice itself for the knight. Tip number 3 is don't obsess over your opponent king. I know it's very instinctive to go after the king because it's the aim of the game after all, but you should know what exactly to attack in certain positions at certain stages of the game. For example, in this one, we have the black pieces with a material advantage. They have an extra pawn and they are an exchange up. Sounds good. And sometimes when people are material up, they think, oh boy, I'm up material, I need to attack the king. However, in this position, doing checks like queen g2, they don't really achieve much. You could do that, but the case in point is that the king is relatively safe, the knight is a very good defender, and the knight isn't really going anywhere. It cannot get kicked out by any of the pawns because both of the adjacent pawns are gone. And your pieces probably should stay near your own king because your king is a bit shaky. It doesn't have the b pawn in front of it. So my point is, the pieces are perfectly placed where they are. They are helping to defend your king, and going after the opponent's king doesn't seem very reasonable. So let's convert our material advantage in another sort of way. Don't forget that we are a pawn up as well, and we have this amazing pawn structure right there, very solid. So let's just forget about all that, and let's try and push our pawns. We calmly play h6. Don't forget that that pawn was attacked as well, so it had to be dealt with anyway. And now some check, we tuck the king away in a corner, and then again, our pieces don't need moving at all. They are perfectly fine defending where they are. The rook and the queen are connected, no need to go for some bizarre checks. Just move your pieces defensively and push your pawns forward. Find the correct plan of attack. Don't go for the king, always, and just create a pass pawn and then promote it and win. Some further pawn moves combined with some defensive moves. For example, this is a very neat defensive move, queen e2. Of course, it does escort the pawn, but what it also does is that it completely removes the possibility of annoying queen checks along this diagonal for white. And also it's a check for the king, finally. So after this check, we finally promote, and then we win. We win the calm way. We don't go after the king, we just utilize the pawn advantage, the stronger pawn chain, and we promote and win. Tip number 4, always, even when attacking, look out for the opponent's threats. It is very rare that in a game of chess, one side just completely rolls over the other without any counterplay. Can you remember at least one time that it seemed like you were on a winning path, you were completely dominating, and then you lost because you just missed a thing, you didn't look at what your opponent can do, and the opponent turned the tables and won, and it was really embarrassing for you. Now, let's not allow that. It is very easy to get overexcited about dominating positions, and this position is one of them. Black is incredibly winning with this pawn on b3 that is about to queen, and after queen c2, it seems like, you know, we've sealed the deal. The queen is escorting the pawn to promotion. However, white plays queen a1, and again, the position is winning for black. It's just that black needs to do some due diligence and just throw a quick glance at what that queen can do to avoid a disastrous result. b2 is still fine. Queen a8 check is still fine. We allowed it, but it's okay. King just goes to h7, and after f takes g, you know, got to be a little bit careful because queen h8 check is coming at some point. If we allow it, then, you know, it's not going to be great for us because that pawn is queening. Black is fine though. Black can throw a couple of moves. The best move is, again, a very important intermezzo move. Before dealing with that queen h8 check threat, we promote with check ourselves. You know, a lot of intermezzo moves are checks because they are just the most forcing. And it seems like, again, it's a very smooth sailing for black. King to h2, and now we just take the pawn and we're like, haha, game over. And this is just the wrong mindset. After queen d8, which seems like a relatively innocuous move, black just switches off. Black just switches off, and from completely winning, black just does an unspeakable thing. Plays queen b to c1, which is really hard to explain. I don't get it. And if you think I'm dissing an opponent there, I'm not. It's actually me playing black, and it's actually me throwing a win away. So yeah, it's kind of pathetic. Queen b to c1, I don't remember what I was thinking. I was thinking something. And this is a terrible news for black because black just lost concentration and allowed queen f6 check. And after queen f6 check, it's a draw. White has a perpetual. Out of nothing, white just managed to claw away a draw. The king has got a couple of squares to choose from. Sure, h7, g8, f8, but all of them lead to perpetuals. h7, and we have this perpetual, which is, you know, kind of hard to stop, impossible to stop. And if we go back a little, g8 just runs into this kind of perpetual. We just keep checking and checking. We can sometimes alternate between g8 and f8, that's fine. It's not going to matter in the end, it's going to end in a draw through threefold repetition. And this is a typical example of how we threw away a very easy win by making some stupid move that we made for no reason, just because we thought every move wins. Apparently not every move wins, as you can see from this one. And finally, tip number 5, and it is simply put, be patient. It is vaguely connected to tip number 1, where I talk about the intermezzo moves. We don't need to necessarily follow up with the most obvious, with the most forcing direct moves, such as recaptures, checks and stuff. Sometimes when your opponent is paralyzed and literally can't do anything, we don't need to force stuff. We can play slow, patient, developing moves, and suffocating the opponent more and more and more. For example, in this position, we can see that after knight g4 was played, the h2 square isn't feeling very good. And the danger is, one of them, is if I give a nothing move to white, we can capture that vital defender of the h2 square, which was the knight on f3, and after queen retakes, or pawn retakes, really doesn't matter, the h2 drops, followed by some really dangerous threats. So, of course, white sees that, and instead of this stupid nothing move that I played, white is like, haha, I am going to, of course, let's trade rooks first, a bit of an intermezzo move, again, intermezzo, gotcha, and g3 now, just blocking that diagonal completely. However, black has got a very good response. Black has got queen c6, and this is just an incredible move. Exposed diagonals need to be attacked, and this is no exception. On top of that, this knight is hanging now, so that needs to be addressed as well. And now king g2 follows in desperate attempts to defend that knight twice. And this is the exact position that I meant when I was talking about being paralyzed. Look at white's position. White is literally unable to do anything after king g2. King can't really move because it needs to defend the knight. Queen can't really move anywhere far because it needs to defend the knight. The knight can't move because it's pinned. This bishop, well, we do not talk about that bishop at all. We don't. And the easiest way, the most straightforward way to capitalize on this position would be something like, well, I can take on h2, for example, and the knight is pinned, so knight cannot recapture. So king takes, and now I take that knight, and after a series of exchanges, I'm a pawn up. The pawn that I took on h2, well done me. And yes, this is much better for black, like winning, -2, or something like that, yada yada yada. But we mustn't forget that this is far from the best approach to choose in this position. Like I said, this is a position where I don't want to play white at all. I just want to resign and quit chess. White is completely out of moves. And by far the best move for this position is a bit more patient, a bit less direct than just a capture. It's h5. h5 threatening to go h4 and open up the position. This move is actually in contrast to knight takes on h2. This move is -9 for black. Now, white can try and stop us from playing h4 by playing h4 themselves. Haha, sure. But yeah, this still doesn't help. This is just a sample position from now on, but black can start doing some tactical stuff. Something amazing like rook d2 fits the bill. Attacking the queen, knight cannot take because pinned. If queen takes, then we're just going to take the knight there, and no matter where the king goes, we're just going to deliver mate. For example, if king f1, this is mate, or if king g1, this is mate, and if king h3, this is mate, right? And if queen does not take, something like queen e3, well, we can just take here, and we can do some nasty stuff. Now the queen is pinned. We don't have to recapture back. Again, think about the intermezzos. Think about the moves that we can do instead of doing the obvious. The queen is pinned, and this pawn is very shaky, so we can just take with the rook there. The rook is defended, queen can't capture, and this is just an amazing position. Like, white is completely suffering. And yeah, now we could probably take the queen, sure, to try and end white suffering as quickly as possible. And yeah, this is what I'm talking about. If we go back a little, yeah, sure, you can try and capitalize on your advantage with taking an extra pawn, but sometimes it is better when you see that your opponent is completely helpless to play the patient moves, the moves that improve your position, and just have some fun humiliating your opponent. So there you go. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comments below if you had some memorable attacks of late, and if you just so happens to find this video useful, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Find me on chess.com, join our Discord, all that good stuff. And I'm going to talk to you very soon. My favorite unintentional gambiters. I love you all. See ya in the next one.